Hello and welcome to Wednesday, October 22nd, 2014, and welcome to Ms. Forbush, your guest teacher. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today because this is one of the funnest things I like to do with kids, and that's writing. And I'm very excited that if I can't be there with you, that Ms. Forbush can be. You know that we have been spending this entire unit on culture. We've done nonfiction reading about culture, we've done fiction reading about culture, and now the rest of this unit is going to be filled up with writing. We're going to be writing about traditions in particular, and today we're just going to look at an idea generating strategy for coming up with some ideas on what we might want to write about later on. So the learning target is I can generate ideas by using a pre-writing strategy in order to prepare for a future writing assignment. Now, before we get started, I want you to know that the word tradition has a pretty broad definition to it. A tradition is a belief or custom of a group that is special or important. Now, that could be a big tradition like a wedding tradition, or it could be a very small tradition that just happens with a small group of people. Sometimes it's handed down from generation to generation, but not always. A tradition can involve, but not be limited to, something that happens with your religion, some kind of custom that happens within your family or with your friends. I know a lot of you went to preschool together, and now you are in sixth grade, and I know some of you have some traditions together as school friends. Some of you have traditions surrounding holidays. Some of you have traditions surrounding your neighborhood. I know a lot of you do that neighborhood watch thing. Some of you have traditions around celebrations. And I know some of you have traditions around vacations. Maybe you go to the same place every year, or maybe you have a traditional way of picking a vacation place. Some of you belong to organizations that have traditions. Some of you go to schools that have traditions. I know some of you went to the Bryant Bash, and that was a tradition that happened year after year after year. And so maybe if you didn't go to Bryant, your school had a tradition that you participated in as well. I know a lot of you participated in the Stepping Up to Success first day of school for sixth graders, and that's a tradition here at X-Time. Some of you participate in traditions maybe within the city of Seattle. I know Seafair happens every year, and some of you are involved in activities that go on with Seafair. Some of you go to the Thanksgiving Day Parade every year. So there are all kinds of traditions that people participate in. The first thing you need to do is go to the next available page on which you can write and set up your comp book page by first writing today's date in the upper left hand corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and have Ms. Forbush hit the pause button so you have time to do this, and she can circulate around the room making sure that you've written the date out in the upper right hand corner of your book. This is a funny way to title this, but I would like you to turn your comp book sideways and make 4 columns. And in the first column, I want you to write people. And in the second column, I want you to write place. In the third column, write tradition. And in the last column, write moment. Now, I try to make the last column just a skosh bigger than the other ones. If you can, great. If you can't, don't worry about it. I think mine's 1 line bigger than the others. But that's where the majority of the writing is going to happen. Again, if you can't, it's no big deal. So again, I'm going to give you time to set this page up. Ms. Forbush is going to go ahead and hit the pause button, circulating around the room to help you make sure you get this set up. Last but not least, go ahead and add this to your table of contents. Now you can see my table of contents is looking kind of, I don't know, kind of messy. I really don't think it's at standard. Maybe it's approaching standard. I know a lot of yours are at and above standard. Please make sure to write the date and then title this People, Place, Moment, Tradition, and go ahead and put the page number. And again, your writing should be nicer than mine is on here. And I think for the rest of the lesson, you'll see that it's pretty nice. This, by the way, is going to end up being graded just like your reading comp book. In fact, probably you all have your table of contents done now. If you have your table of contents finished, you've added people, place, moment, tradition. Why don't you go ahead and give Ms. Forbush a thumbs up? And if you're not quite finished yet, why don't you go ahead and give her a thumbs down, and she'll decide whether she needs to pause this. All right. This is for those of you who have to start from the left and move to the right. When you are thinking about a tradition, maybe the first thing you think about are people. So I thought about Cheryl, Karen, Lynn, and Leah when I thought about one of my traditions. And the place I thought about was Girl Scout Camp, Meadow Mountain Ranch. Cheryl, Karen, Lynn, Leah, and I all went to school together. And of course, there were many, many more people at camp, but those are really the people I remember in this particular moment. The tradition we had at camp was called an all-night campfire. And that simply meant that we kept the campfire going all night, but we didn't all stay up all night. We did it in shifts. So like two people would stay up, and then when our shift was over, we'd wake the next two people up and they'd tend the fire while we went to bed, and we did it all the way until sunrise. So the moment I remember from this tradition is I saw my first shooting star. So now that might be something I write about later on, the very first time I saw a shooting star. That's one way to do the tradition or the generating strategy. Another way is by going by tradition. So I can't start from left to right. I kind of popcorn all over the place. And in this case, I'm starting with the tradition of the Veterans Day bell ringing in my hometown. And what we did is um, there was this bell that rang at 3 o'clock in the morning all throughout the streets of my hometown. And it's the veterans that did that. And it really kind of made people grouchy because they all got woken up at 3 in the morning. But the veterans did that to remind us that we were living in peace, and that those people who weren't living in peace often got woken up in the middle of the night and for scary reasons. So at the end of that, my dad thanked me for doing something special with him, and it was a really special thing for him. So that's a moment I might write about. Sometimes I start from the place, and you might as well. The street that I lived on was Van Buren Street, and I do remember one particular Halloween when Leanne and Robin, her little sister Robin, and I were trick-or-treating on Halloween, and some kids tried to steal our candy. We were in 5th grade. They didn't get it, but grr. So as I was writing this, I thought, oh yeah, I remember something else about that. I remember it was Leanne and Robin. We were at Leanne's house, and Leanne's little sister was so scared of my costume. I'd take off my mask, and she'd laugh and giggle and realize it was me. I'd put it back on, and she'd cry. She was like, I don't know, 4 or 5. So you can see as I'm generating ideas, they don't have to be different places all the time or different people. As a matter of fact, sometimes I put Christmas at the top of this list. I could do a whole page on Christmas memories. Family vacation. I could do a whole page on vacations at Lake Chelan because that's what my family does every summer. Birthdays. I bet you guys could do a whole page on birthdays. And you can see that I have one birthday here when I was younger. I was in 6th grade. I got a football. Everyone was appalled that I got a football. And then I had another birthday from when I was in college. I just got off work. Yes, I had to work on my birthday. And I got off of work late, so I went to my party and they ate my cake before I got there. Can you believe that? So look, I've just generated all kinds of ideas from traditions, from places, from people, and then I could create moments that I might want to write about later. If you go down to the bottom of this list, you can see the Girl Scout end of the year dinner. That wasn't a big tradition, but it was something my troop did at the end of every year. So it doesn't have to be a big thing unless you want it to be a big thing. I'm going to go back and remind you, go back to the first slide and remind you of all the things a tradition can be. And I'm going to go ahead and stop at this point and let you write. And you're in really good hands with Ms. Forbush, who used to be the director of the Puget Sound Writing Project over at the University of Washington. She can help you come up with some ideas too. My expectation is that you will be with this particular assignment for 15 to 20 minutes. So if you get stuck, stay with being stuck and get through being stuck and keep coming up with ideas. And I can't wait to see what you're going to write about and what you're going to share with me tomorrow. Have fun.